Hello, you guys. My name is Najwa. I am so happy you're here. If you are new to my channel, please do me a favor. Hit the like and subscribe button. Hit that bell so you know whenever I post a video. I want to explore something with you today that I kind of second guessed whether or not I even wanted to talk about this, because people who have gotten through narcissistic abuse, it's like you will never understand it unless you go through it. It quite literally has the possibility to destroy you from the inside out. It is something that makes you question your worldview. It's something that makes you think that you are a terrible person, even when you are a victim. It's something that makes you wonder if you're crazy. It makes you question your sanity. It makes you forget who you are and just sort of sculpt yourself to some, I don't know, shell of a person to always kind of be de-escalating and managing the narcissist. It is a terrible, terrible position to be in, to be a normal person, quote unquote normal person, or an actual empathetic person who is dealing with a narcissist. And it does not matter what dynamic that is in. It doesn't matter if it is a professional relationship. It doesn't matter if you are family. It doesn't matter if it is your romantic partner. It doesn't matter if it's your parent or your child. It is always the same. It is basically like trying to keep Godzilla from destroying the city with some little friggin' pieces of thread. You know, it's like it's constantly trying to keep that big monster from destroying everything. But the narcissists are very good at sort of like painting a picture of themselves being the victim, even though it is the person who's dealing with a narcissist who is always the victim. It doesn't change. You know, sometimes we as normal empathic people, and I say normal, you know, loosely, but people with actual empathy, we often question ourselves and wonder if we are the bad people, but we're not. We're not the bad people. The narcissist is the antagonist, the villain, but in their mind, the hero of this story. And but on the outside, they have this mask. They have this mask that makes them that they push out this image to the world that they are an upstanding citizen, that they're very smart, that they're very philanthropic, that they're a humanitarian, whatever the mask is. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? You know, it could be a variety of things. You know, the mask could be a variety of things, but it's some image that paints them as a really good person. But the empaths in their lives, the family members of the narcissist, the ones who aren't flying monkeys, the one who still have some semblance of ability to feel and compassion, they know what and who the narcissist is. So this, with that being said, this was something I really thought, shoot, should I actually make this video? And then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it because I am that phoenix that rose through the ashes. You know, like I am that person who just did not realize what was going on with me. Why the heck did I feel all these things that I had never felt before? Like worthlessness, like deep-seated anger and sadness and anxiety, and lack of confidence, when I had always been a confident person. I'd always been a rebel with a cause. I'd always, you know, been known for having my own mind, and suddenly I'm like, I don't know what my mind is. So, you know, coming over to that other side, getting away from the narcissist and rediscovering who you are, it's like going through a death. It really, really is. Like, metaphorically, it's like going through a death. Especially when you go no contact. When you go no contact, it's much easier for you to remember who it is that you are. But basically, it's just to say that whole experience of getting yourself back, of rediscovering who you are, of regaining your strength and your confidence, your independence, that comfort in solitude, because narcissists never want to be alone, ever. They don't like solitude and reflection. Empaths need solitude and reflection. A lot of empaths are actually huge extroverts, like me. I'm an extrovert. But I need solitude sometimes. Like everyone really, really does, because you need to be able to sit with yourself. You need to be able to have some self-care and self-love. Narcissists don't have that. They want to be around people all the time, is because they get their sense of being from other people praising them. With that being said, it's like, I know how hard it is to come out on the other side of that. I know how hard it is to like rediscover yourself, rediscover your strength, rediscover your beauty, and just be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna be okay. It takes so much mental work to get back to that good space. And sometimes you just want to, when you've gotten past it, when you've gone no contact with the narcissist, or when you've moved on with your life, or when you've rediscovered who it is that you are, and you are back to your good old self, or whatever it is, a lot of times you do not want to go back to that bad space. You don't want to go back to that negative space. You don't want to go back to the difficulty and the hardness. But I'm going to challenge you right now to think back to where it all began. Because I know that this is another element of healing. I know that it is. It's because when you realize it, and it's something that's always been there. It's something that's always been there, but that you try to ignore. And let me say again, the narcissists are not the victim in this. The victims are the victims. You know, you are the victim. Empaths, you guys watching this right now, you were the victim. You were not the bad guy, and I'm making that very clear right now. But for a long time, you probably just tried to figure out, where did this all start? For those of you who have become aware that this is not a normal person that you're dealing with, those who are still stuck in it, they're still convincing themselves that the narcissist can't be this crazy evil person, because for a long time, empaths think that way. They're like, no one could be that evil. No, that didn't go down that way. That I felt it in my brain, that I felt it in my backbone, how I got shivers in my spine and the hair stood up in the back of my neck. Nah, that couldn't have been that, because nobody could be that evil. For a long, long time, you dissuade yourself from thinking that this person is not pure evil, and they are, because they are like a movie evil villain. It's so true. And you know, when you're watching a evil villain, when you're watching a movie or a soap opera, it's so clear to you who the evil villain is, or a scary movie, for example. It's so clear to you and the people you're watching it with. You're like, hey, don't go in there. What are you doing? What are you thinking? You know, real life is just like that. Because we actually have real human emotions. You know, these people are stunted in some way, psychologically. And so they don't actually have empathy. They just think of everything kind of like a game. And they need to be the winner in every single game, every single day of their life. Like literally driving to work, they need to be the winner. Like that sounds crazy to think of it that way, but literally even just that. All throughout their day, every single task for them is not, I am me. This is the universe that I live in. I live in amongst these other people. Let me try and do good while I'm here on this earth and be a good person. No, it's like, let me win, and while I'm making it to the stoplight. Let me race you to the stoplight and get to the stoplight first. Let me be the first to get into the bearing to turn left, or to turn left. Let me be the first to get to the office. Let me be the first to be the one in my family to make $1 million. Like, that's literally how they think every single day. They don't have real empathy. But I challenge the empath to think back on when the rivalry started. And this is for you guys who are educated. Like, you're there now. You understand that it's a rivalry. If I say I challenge you to know when the rivalry started, and you're like, what rivalry? Yeah, baby, we not there yet. Go look at some other narcissism videos. You're going to get there one day. Just keep building your strength up. But if you have gone through the storm, come on the other side, and you still, even if it's been months and months and years or decades, you still have to fight that good fight every day to maintain that strength of who you are, that independence. That you're like the narcissist could have been in your rearview mirror for years, but every day is still a battle for you to continue to love this right here, to love you. That narcissist tried to destroy when you said, no, I'm not going to sit here and kiss your butt when you don't deserve it. That rivalry, it's truly rivalry. There's no other way to think of it. Every single thing they do in life, they just need to be a winner, but they'll never ever, they could be given everything in the world and still never be a winner in their eyes because they don't actually love themselves. It's deep, deep insecurity. But that terrible trauma bond between the narcissist and the victim, what I saw that sparked this thought for me was some videos that I looked at by a lady who talks on narcissism. Her name is Dana Arcuri. So you can look that up on YouTube if you want. But I also watched Dr. Ramani, and I was looking at videos from them discussing this topic of rivalry. And whatever the dynamic is, because it's all the same. Like we said, narcissists, they need to win. It's not that they want to win. They need to win. If you think back whether the dynamic was in your family, maybe you had a toxic narcissistic mother who, even though you were the child and she was supposed to be taking care of you, she saw you as a rival, a competition for dad's attention. That's not what a mom is supposed to do. Moms don't see their children as rivals. So maybe it was a parent or your dad, it's not just the mom, but a dad. Maybe your dad or your mom saw you as the other spouse's rival for attention. Or maybe it was your boss or your coworker. Maybe the person at work that you're supposed to be working alongside to do awesome things with, to create a vision that comes together to life through a group effort, through concerted effort, and one that is built on a foundation of teamwork and symbiosis and professionalism. But it was less, let us work together to produce this for our company or the client or, whatever it is. It was more like that boss or co-worker, regardless of your educational background, whatever it is. You could have been way less educated than them, whatever it is, but they still saw you as a rival. Or if it was a sibling, for example. Now this one's tough. I mean, whether it was like they took your dress, when you were like 12 years old and they stretched it all out, and they knew that you were going to wear that dress to the prom and they stole it and they never gave it back. Or maybe it was when you were 5 and they stole your Cabbage Patch doll. Like, seriously, that rivalry, which that one sibling is like, kids rival usually, but that it could still be really toxic. Or if it was a friend, maybe your narcissist was a friend and like it just always seemed like they were competing with you. You weren't competing with them. So you didn't understand why it would be a case where they would be trying to compete with you, because you weren't competing with them. But nonetheless, they were still competing with you. I challenge you to think back to when the rivalry started. It will open up another line of closure for the victims of narcissistic abuse. It'll open up so many levels of validation. You will feel vindicated. Now, that's not to say that everything will be easy after that. With that information, you're still going to have to do the work. You're still going to have to talk with your support circle, like your family and your friends, if you can, or your therapist or your spouse. And you, you are the primary person of support. You're going to have to continue to think about that and reflect on it and look to ways to use that as a strength to propel you forward as the future comes versus a weakness. But it will open up a new level of insight, that's going to be helpful for you. When did the rivalry start? Seriously, think on it. You know it. You really, really know it. And you might not remember all the details very, very clearly. But if you really, really dig into yourself, you'll realize when everything started. You'll realize when the narcissist thought that you were not praising them in the way that they knew that they deserved. Or when they saw that you were breaking away from what they tried to create in you. They try to make you some mold of what they think is appropriate. Or it'll be when you refuse to give them praise when they really didn't deserve it. Or it'll be when they really actually just did something that was morally reprehensible and you didn't just go along with it. You know, like, you might not remember all the details. I really want to highlight that. But you'll remember the feeling of the moment. You'll remember the sentiment of the moment. Because with the narcissist that was in my life, as I've told you guys many times, they were there over 10 years. I could never truly let myself get close to this person. Something inside of my body and my spirit said, danger. You know, danger. And I can remember the moment the rivalry started. I can remember it like it was yesterday, you know, dead center. I can remember it was the first time I saw the mask sort of slip. And from there on, you know, like I've said before, we as the empaths, we think, nah, that didn't really happen. You see the mask slip and then you go, what was that? And then you just sort of rationalize in your head because no one could be that evil. You guys know what I'm talking about. And I remember that moment of the first seeing the mask slip. Although long before that, since basically I've met this person, something said, Najwa, danger. You're not safe. Danger, danger. And in that moment, you know, I won't divulge into the exact details of what happened. And some of the details are even fuzzy for me. But I just remember it being the first time that it was highlighted that this person was extremely judgmental and not very kind. You know, they paint this mask like they're really, really kind. But it was the first time that I saw that this was an extremely judgmental person, a very unkind person, and someone who just seemed evil. There's no other way to put it. You just get a glimpse of that evilness in them. And it was so funny because that person showed me that evilness in them, but they had misunderstood what I was saying. It was like they showed me a glimpse of that evilness because they were responding to something that they didn't even understand. Like, they had misinterpreted what I was saying. So it was like, after that, they felt even more enraged because they had shown me a slip of the mask, and it was because they had misunderstood what I said. And it just, in those moments of first seeing that mask slip, you see everything in that person, you know? It kind of reminds me of the show Supernatural, if you guys have ever seen it. There's an episode where, it's these two brothers that travel the United States slaying demons, you know, like actual demons and ghosts and ghouls and, you know, all types of creatures or whatever. But of course, it's a metaphor for the bigger things. And there's this one episode where there are these little changeling kids who are actually demons, but they are masked. They swap out the real kids and they take their place and they look like them. But when you look in a mirror, you can see that they're these terrible, ghoulish looking demons with like a million teeth and this weird circular mouth. And they've got gross looking skin that looks dead, like, you know, they've been in the water for 150 years. And it's frightening. It's frightening. But you know, like, you only see them in the mirror. When you look at them face to face, they look normal, but just something is off with them. And it's like that when you see the narcissist mask slip off for the first time. You see a glimpse into something that is absolutely frightful. You know, it's so scary. Um, and then you rationalize with yourself. It's almost like the stages of grief. You're like, wait, what was that? What? You know? And then, yeah. But after a while, empaths, with the first encounter, you know, for me, it took 10 years for me to just be like, okay, this person is friggin'. It took me 10 years to be like, this person is friggin' not right in the head. Let me move on about my business before I end up in a body bag somewhere. But for other empaths, it might take them a week. It might take them a year. It might take them a month. You know, it's like, it really just depends. But the lead up to that is that you're gonna see more and more sequences of the mask falling off. And I guarantee you, rivalry is at the center of that. They were, like, at least for my narcissist, see, I don't want to go into too many details because I don't want to blast anybody. But there's deep insecurity, you know. There was deep insecurity. And, like, they were competing with me, but I was not competing with them. And so it came from a place of competition. I really don't know any other way to put it. And from there on, you know, the first time you challenge them, they see you as an enemy to vanquish and defeat. You know, like, but if you kind of do keep showing them praise, they won't forget that first time that you questioned them, you know? And so it will become more and more and more and more and more and more aggressive, right? And you'll see their mask slip more times until you finally go no contact, right? And so the mask slipped for me several more times, right? And the mask slips through rivalry. There's some sort of rivalry there. The thing that I think is really interesting is about people who are dealing with situations where they have a sibling or family member who's a narcissist. That's one of the most interesting ones to me because that one is so ancestral and deep. It's like a lot of those people, they're like, I don't know what it is, but like my sister just has always hated me. It's like, no, she didn't always hate you. No. If you really, really think back, if you were old enough to remember, you can kind of go back to pinpoint when your sister started to hate you. Unless it was like the day that you got home, girl. Like, oh boy, whatever. If it was like the day that you got home and your sibling was like, ooh, I hate that baby, you know? And it could very well be that. But if it's not that, if it was something that happened in adolescence, or if it was something that happened when you were a preteen, or if it's something that happened when you were a teenager, when the rivalry started, you will remember. You will remember. For me, it was probably, I'd say, about out of that 10, 15-year friendship with my narcissist, I'd say it was probably about 5 years in, something like that. 5 years in, you know, like halfway there. And it was like, you know, that is really the deciding factor. You already know that something isn't right and it's coming. But yeah, narcissists, like, if they had their life perfectly, they have undying praise all the time, loyalty all the time, even if they're dead wrong, even if they're literally causing so much human suffering. And this could be the narcissist who's just like the local soccer coach, all the way up to like people who are running nations. Like, they can cause so much havoc in what they have power over. And it's like, in their minds as a narcissist, they will be so happy if just like they always get praise, they always get what they want, and they'll be good. But like, if they don't get that, it's going to be terrible. But the irony is, if they did get everything that they wanted, everything in the world, everything you got to give them, they still would not be happy because they have something foundationally, deeply, deeply wrong with them. Foundationally, you know, it's like that saying that every psychopath is not a narcissist. I'm sorry, no, I got that wrong. It's like every narcissist is not a psychopath, but every psychopath is a narcissist. Every single psychopath is a narcissist, you know? They don't care about anybody else. They just care about themselves. It leads back to something deeply, deeply wrong with them foundationally. I mean, it could be going back to childhood where they faced some sort of, how do you want to say, some hindrance to their development. And that could even be neurological development, quite literally. You could be dealing with someone who has brain damage. Like that sounds crazy, but it's so true. Like, they could be one of the people who, like, maybe started drinking or doing drugs when they were at a very, very young age. There's a lot of people who did that, like, at a really, really, really young age. I'm talking about, like, still children. It could be that they faced injury, you know, and they had some sort of neurological stunting, but it could also just be something that they were born with. They could have been born with a personality disorder or some sort of behavioral disorder. It could be something literally from birth that they've had. But I feel like 9 times out of 10, and this is just me speaking, I'm not a psychologist, this is just instinct, I feel like it's some traumatic event or series of events in their childhood, whether they were witnessing domestic violence, whether they were victims of abuse from their parents or family friends or whatever it was, if they had ADHD, or for example, or if they faced some horrific trauma, childhood trauma, maybe sexual abuse. I feel like there's a whole host of things. They could have had a very absent parent, but I feel like it's either like they truly have some sort of neurological development that got stunted. They have some childhood trauma that is unresolved, but either way, they won't go get the help for it. It might help you have sympathy for them, but it will never change them. You know, like some narcissists, a small percentage will go get help, but that's like really, really the exception. For the most part, they will always be that way. So there is really only one technique that you can do, and it's no contact. It's no contact, and it's healing yourself after all the damage that they've done. But if you're brave enough and you want to tell us about it, when did the rivalry start? When did the rivalry start? If you really think on it, I think you probably know when it did. When did the rivalry start? Let me know what you guys think. I'm very curious to know what you think. Let me know in the comments. If you are new to this channel, please, please, please hit the like, subscribe button, hit that bell so you know whenever I post a video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.